Shay, hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this live class. My name is Veronica. This is the PHP live class. Sorry, we are starting a bit late today. We had a few minor issues to sort out. So today we're going to be discussing PHP syntax, PHP variables, comments. We'll talk about PHP data types. We'll talk about PHP constants and operations in PHP. Okay, before I go forward, let me share my screen. Okay, a few days ago, the curriculum for the week was dropped in the stack, and then a few exercises were dropped. Also, some resources were shared too. I believe we all learned how to set up our environment for PHP. And then by now, everyone should have their environment set up to run basic PHP codes. So to start, we'll talk about PHP syntax. When we talk about syntax, what does a syntax mean? A syntax is simply a set of rules or say formats that define how a program can be written and interpreted. Every programming language has its own syntax. PHP is not left out. So the basic syntax for PHP, the first thing to note is that a PHP file, a PHP code starts with, let me type that here. Like we learned in the introduction to PHP class, we learned that a PHP code starts with this line at the opening, and then it ends. Sorry about that. Hence this way with a question mark and the greater than sign. So within these two lines is where you put in your PHP code. For instance, on line 8, let me get rid of this and put this in a separate line. Okay, just so we're clear on this. Yes. Okay. Yeah, let me just space it out so it's very visible. Okay, so this is basically how you start and end a PHP code. You start with this line and you end with this line. Then every other thing you want to put can go in between this. There are one or two, a few other ways that PHP codes can be written, but this is the most common way and most accepted way. So apart from that, another thing we should note is that every PHP script, every PHP statement, rather, ends with a semicolon. What we mean by a statement? Sorry about that. Okay, what we mean by a statement is, well, for starters, for beginners, this line is a PHP statement. We get to talk about what a statement entails and everything later in this class. But for the purpose of this class, this line is a PHP statement. And when you're done with a PHP statement, let's say I want to say echo PHP class. I can't stop this way and go forward. I have to end with a semicolon. That's basically what I've been saying since. A PHP statement must end with a semicolon. Then also, we can embed PHP within HTML. If we do that, basically PHP files are just plain text files with .php extension. If we look at this file now, we have index.php. And then what this means is that going through the basic HTML and CSS courses that we all learned about, I'm sure we learned a basic structure of an HTML file, which is most likely, say, your index.html file. And then for PHP, we have index.php. .php simply means that, okay, this file contains PHP code. This is a PHP file. So the computer understands that it should read it as a PHP file. So basically, the difference is just that it ends with .php. Now, inside the PHP file, you can write HTML like you would do in regular HTML pages. Or you can decide to embed PHP codes in HTML pages for server-side execution. We get to learn about that when we go deeper in PHP class. So basically what we're saying is this. Here, we have PHP code embedded inside HTML file. And when we're saving a PHP file, we must save it with .php extension. Okay, let's talk about PHP comments. Now, when we're talking about PHP comments, basically what comments are just, they can be used as a way to explain what your line of code is going to do or is about to do or is doing. They can be used for documentation purposes. They can be used in collaboration, where a lot of people are actually working on the same code base. Take for instance, when you get to work with other developers, maybe during your live project, and then probably when internship or work starts, you get to work with other developers, and everyone is actually contributing to a code base. You're not the only one working on it. So anything you do on that code base, any change, any file, any line of code you add, other people that are working on the same code base, on the same project, okay, for simplicity purpose, on the same project, should be able to understand what you did. So sometimes codes are written, for instance, this is echo hello world. Well, most people will understand that it means you should output hello world, which is exactly what's happening here. But most times, as we advance, we get to realize that codes get deeper and they get more complex. So in situations where you need other people to understand what you're doing, you need to write comments. Now, this is an example of what a comment does. Here, I put this line outputs a basic hello world greeting. Anyone that opens this file, reads through and sees this, we understand that this is what this line 14 is going to do. So that is basically the idea of comments. Comments can be of two types. We can have single line comments and we can have multi-line comments. Single line comments are written with these two slashes here. You can write single line comments with these two slashes here, or you can use the hash symbol. To write multi-line comments, they are written as this, the slash symbol, the asterisk, whatever you want to write. Let's say this is a multi-line comment. And then you end with the asterisk and the slash to close. So these are basically the two, well, say 3 ways. Remember I said you can use the hash symbol, or you can use 2 slashes to write single line comments. So these are the 2 types of comments that can be written. Okay, I think we're done with comments now. Okay, let's move to PHP variables. I need to do this for PHP variables. Okay. We say variables, PHP variables. What are variables? Basically, variables are used to store data. You can store different kinds of data in a variable. Let's say you can store a string of text, you can store numbers, you can store different things in a variable. So, PHP variable. Now, let's say an example of a PHP variable. Okay. Let's use our comments. PHP variables. Okay. A PHP variable. This is an example of a PHP variable. Let's indent this. Okay. Let's say text is hello world. Okay, what just happened here is that I just assigned this text hello world to this variable that I decided to name txt. Okay, let me create another variable. Let's call this number. Variable number is 15. So these are examples of variables. Now about PHP variables, there are a few things we need to know. First of all, a PHP variable starts with a $sign. If you notice, when I was typing this txt variable, I started with $sign. This $sign is how PHP understands that we're trying to create a variable, or maybe get a variable, maybe later when we're using the variable. So the PHP understands that this is a variable and this is a variable. So if you're writing a variable in PHP, you have to start with a $sign. Another thing to note is variable naming convention. All variables start with a $sign. Two, variable names must start with a letter or the underscore character. For instance, if I do two txt, it will throw an error. As you can see, my code editor is not even highlighting it the way it's highlighting this number variable. So this is invalid. Starting a variable with a number is invalid. It must start with a letter or with an underscore. This is valid in PHP. This is also valid in PHP. But you cannot start variable names with numbers. Also, another thing to note is to assign values to variable. We use the assignment operator. We're going to learn about operators later in this class. So just go with me as I say this. We'll explain that better later. We assign values to variables, PHP variables, with assignment operator, which is this. This is an assignment operator, which is what I did here. TXT, variable TXT is equal to what we know from, well, basic elementary school as equal to sign. Is how we assign values to variables. Yes. What else? What else? PHP variables. Okay. Variable names in PHP are case sensitive. So if I do variable number and I do variable, let's say capital number, this variable and this variable are totally different variables. So if I decide to say output number, let's say I come here and I say output variable. Okay, let's give this 5. Okay. And I come here and I say output variable number. And I run this here. It's saying 5. Here. It's outputting 5. So if I change it to small number and I run this, Okay. Oh, I didn't save that, sorry. I have to save everything. Okay, to change to 15. This is basically a proof that this and this are not the same. I mean, if they were the same, or let me just remove this and say variable number, capital number, save and run. See, undefined variable number. So that won't work. But if I change it to small number and I run it, it works. So basically, that's that about introduction to variables in PHP. With that, we go to what next? What next? Okay. Constants. Constants, PHP constants are like variables, but the major difference between a constant and a variable is that once a constant is defined, they cannot be changed or undefined. So if I say, sorry, give me a few seconds. Okay, for a variable, variables can be changed. After declaring this number variable, I can decide to change it. We'll get to learn more about changing variables later. But for a constant, the value of a constant cannot be changed. To define constants in PHP, constants are usually defined with PHP's built-in define function. Define function. This function is what we use to define constants in PHP. It accepts two arguments. Okay, again, for beginners that might not understand the terms I'm using. This is just a basic introduction to some concepts in PHP. All these things will get clearer by the time we move ahead in class. So basically, the define function takes in two arguments. One, the name of the constant, and then the corresponding value. For instance, let's say I want to call my constant greeting. So I say greeting, greeting, that's the first argument, and the second argument we say is the value. Okay. What value am I assigning to this constant greeting? It's a greeting. I want it to greet someone. So what is the value? Meaning, what kind of greeting do I want it to output? I say, hello world. Hello world. Or let's say, welcome to PHP class. And then I close this. This is basically me defining a PHP constant. So if I want to echo this and I do echo greeting, I save this. I save this and I run it. Oh, sorry. Sorry. It's okay. Okay, where is that error coming from? Okay, we fix that error later. So basically, the constant takes in, let me just undo this so it doesn't delay us, because right now I can't seem to. So we'll leave that to talk about operations in PHP. Okay. Let's just get rid of this. And say basic PHP operations. For PHP operations, we have different operators. Okay, let's start with this. We have different operators in PHP. We have the arithmetic operators. We have the assignment operators. So I'm just typing this in case, for some reason, maybe some people have issues hearing what I'm saying or maybe understanding what I'm saying. Also to guide us on, so we won't skip any of this. So we have the comparison operators, we have the increments and decrements operators. We have the increments and decrement operators. We have the logical operators. We have the logical operators. We have the string operators, array, conditional assignments, and all. Arrays, we'll treat arrays next week. Basically, for this class, let's go through the arithmetic, assignment, comparison, increments, decrements, and logical operators. For arithmetic operators are, well, as the name implies, operators that are used to for numeric values, to perform basic numeric functions. Let me comment this out so it doesn't affect what we're doing. So arithmetic operators, we have the addition operator, we have we have the subtraction operator, the symbol is for subtraction. Okay, I think what I'll do is this. Tomorrow, I'll share a slide that covers these topics that we've done, so that at least these things I'm saying can get people will be able to read them and see them, be able to marry things together. Because as I'm writing, I can just decide to erase one thing or the other, and one might not be able to go back and see what's happened there. We'll have the multiplication operator. It's for multiplication. Multiplication. Okay, we have the division operator. Division, arithmetic operator, sorry. We have the modulus. And we have the exponential operator. Okay. Exponential operator. Sure. Okay. The addition operator is basically used to add, two variables together. Let's say we have variable x. We want to add it to variable y. You use the arithmetic operator here. Use the arithmetic operator to do that. If we are going to subtract, let's say we want to subtract variable y from variable x, change it to the subtraction operator. We want to multiply variable x and y, we change it to multiplication operator. Basically, it just multiplies x and y. Okay, let's say x is 2 and y, let's say x is 5 and y is 3. So this is 5 plus 3. And then this will be 5 minus 3. And then this will be 5 multiplied by 3. For division, well, this will be x divided by y, which will be 5 divided by 3. For modulus, now what modulus does is, modulus will divide for simplicity's sake, let me say the numerator by the denominator. And then instead of the division that brings, that returns the number of times the denominator can be divided, the numerator can be divided by denominator. The modulus instead returns the excess. Take for instance, this 5 divided by 3. For division now, how many times does 3 go in 5? 5 divided by 3 is 1 point something. So it's 1, and it has the remainder of 2. For modulus now, if we do x, variable x, modulus, where are you? What am I doing? Variable x, modulus, variable y. What we'll get, okay, let's say 5, that will be 5 modulus 3, right? So what it should return will be 2. Because when you divide 5 by 3, you have the remainder of 2. So basically what the modulus does is to return the remainder of dividing two variables. Exponential is used to raise the first variable to the power of the other variable. For instance, if we say variable x, exponential variable y, what it's basically saying is that we're raising x to the white power. Okay, the task for the week is going to be based on these basic operations. So I think we're done with arithmetic operators. We move to assignment operator. If you recall, when we were talking about variables, we mentioned that values are assigned to variables using the assignment operator, which we call the equal to sign. Now, in going deeper into assignment operators now, we'll learn that the basic assignment operator in PHP is this, equal to sign, but there are some other variations that are used in assignments, in PHP assignments. For instance, we have the basic assignment operator, which is this, which is if we say x is equal to y, that means we're saying whatever is in y is being assigned to x, which means the left variable gets the value of the right one. So let's say y is 2. What's going on? Let's say y is 2. Let's do normal maths, basic mathematics. If y is equal to 2, then x will be equal to 2. That's basically what this is saying, what this line here is saying. So sorry. Okay, yeah. Moving on. So we can use this to do basic additions. If we say x plus equal to y. What does this mean? Why are you doing this? It basically means, let me put it in next to it. Basically means x is equal to x plus y. So what is this? Is this? Say we have x equals 2, and we have our y to be equal to, say, 3. So what we're saying here is that x, we want to assign the value of adding x and y to x now. So what this means is that x is 2 and y is 3. And what we're saying here is that our x now will not be 2 again. It will be the sum of x and y, which will be 2 plus 3. So if we call x, what we're going to get is the sum of x and y, which is x plus y, which is 2 plus 3. So basically our x will return 5. We can use that for the subtraction too. If we say x minus equal to y, that means we mean x is equal to x minus y. To make it easier, let me just make x have a bigger value. So what this means now is that we're reassigning this value to our x. So if we call x, our x stops being 5, and it is, yeah, you got it, 5 minus 3, x minus y, which is 2. Okay. All right, let me just rush through. Well, not rush through, but let me just go faster. We can do that with the same multiplication. From here, we can say this, and then what that basically means is that our new x will be x multiplied by y, which is 5 multiplied by 3, 15. right? Basic mathematics. For division, we can do that. We can also do that with modulus. Oh, shit. And that means we have x will be modulus of x and y. So basically, what will x be? X will be the remainder of dividing 5 by 3, which is 2. So our x will be 2. Okay, let's leave that to talk about comparison operators. Okay. When we talk about comparison operators, we have the equal to. Now, here, we should note that there's a difference between a single equal to, a double equal to, and a triple equal to. A single equal to is basically an assignment operator. What does it do? It assigns the value of the right parameter. It assigns the value of the right the right variable, so to say, to the left one. The double equal to is actually the operator that works for equality. So if you want to check if y is equal to x is actually equal to y, you use this double equal to. So here, what you do is you say x, you want to check two variables. Variable x is equal to variable y. What this does is this. It's going to check if x is actually equal to y, and then it returns true if x is equal to y, and it returns false if x is not equal to y. Here, x is 5 and y is 3. If we check this, if we use this to check this value now, it will return false because x is actually not equal to y, because x is 5, y is 3. 5 and 3 are not the same thing. So this equality sign, this double equality sign is what what is known as the equality operator in PHP. So these triple equality symbols is used to check if variables are identical. This one is used to check if variables are equal. This is used to check if variables are identical. So what this means is this. If you say, sorry, let me just copy this. If I type this, what I'm saying is that you should check for two things. You should check if x is equal to y, and then you should check if x and y are of the same type. So it will only be true, this statement will only be true if x is equal to y and at the same time x and y are of the same type. If, for instance, if variable x is a string, oh, did I delete that? Yeah, I did. Let's say variable x. Remember the other time I did variable txt, and I said variable txt is equal to, did I say hello world? I think I used hello world. Okay, so imagine that we say variable x is hello world, and then variable y is a number, let's say 2. They are definitely not of the same type. So what this triple equality sign is checking is if they are equal and if they are of the same type. For instance, if x is a string of 2 and y is this x here is a string. A string is just a sequence of characters that are in quotes. Basically, that's what a string is. So here, 2 is seen as a string. And here, in variable y, 2 is seen as a number. Well, you might look at it and say x is 2, y is 2. They are equal. You might say so. But they are not of the same type. Even if we say yes, even if we agree that they are equal because they are both equal to 2, they are not of the same type. That's just a vague example of that. Then we have the non-equality sign, non-equality operator. Sorry, this it will only return true if variable x is not equal to variable y. So if we say variable x is not equal to variable y, it will return true if variable x is not equal to variable y. So this here is known as non-equal to, not equal to operator, not equal. We have not identical. Basically, what we can put at the back of our minds is that once you see this exclamation mark, what it basically does is to negate the next, say, symbol. For instance, if it comes before equal to, that means it's saying the opposite, meaning that it's negating the equality, meaning it's saying that it is not equal to. So now here, when we're using this for not equal to negate equality, we use only one equality sign with this exclamation mark, so to say. So this means not equal. This is not negating the assignment operator. It is negating the equality operator. So instead of two equality signs here, we have one and the negation symbol. So if we want to negate the identical equator, yeah, you guessed right. We do this with the double equality symbol. So this shows that, basically tells us that it is not identical. We have the greater than, we have the less than symbol. The greater than operator, it returns true if variable x is greater than y. So the comparison operators are actually used to check some conditions, and then what they're expected to is to return a result of that condition, if it's true or if it's false. Like we said before, if this will only return true, this will return true. If x is not equal to y, this will return true. Let me just type it out. X is not identical to y. This will return true if variable x is not identical to y. This guy here will return true if variable x is greater than variable y. Also, this guy will return true if variable x is less than variable y. Then we have the greater than or equal to. It will return true if variable x is greater than or equal to variable y. And then we have the less than or equal to. will return true if variable x is less than or equal to y. Like I said, I'll drop a slide tomorrow to show the visual representation of this, because if we start typing them out now, it's going to take our time. So let's just leave that to talk about the increments and decrement operators. Basically, there are four. We have the pre-increment, the post-increment, the pre-decrement, and the post-decrement. Okay. X. Okay. Let me just type it out. Variable x is x and okay. Basically, what this first one is what it means is, let me write this, is the pre-increment operator, post increment operator. We have the pre-decrement operator, and we have the post-decrement operator. Post-decrement operator. So let's take them one by one. The pre-increment operator, what it does is that it increments this variable x, it increments it by 1, and then it returns the variable x. Okay, let's show some examples. Let me just comment this out. I don't want to delete them, so I'll just comment them out. Okay, let's get rid of this. Okay, we're not done with that. All right, get rid of this. We're done with arithmetic, we're done with assignments. I just want to clean this here so we have space to work with. We have our opening tag. Okay, yeah. What's going on? Okay. All right. Where are we? Pre-increment. Sorry about that. Pre-increment operator. So if we say variable x, yeah, this is a pre-increment operator. Okay. And yeah. Okay, this is what we want to work with. Let's define x to be, let's call variable as 3. I think I've used 3 too much today. Let me use 7. Variable x is equal to 7. Let's not be partial. So if we say echo and we run it, this here will return I don't like how this is looking. Okay, Yeah, this makes more sense. Hey. All right. If we say x, variable x is equal to 7, and then we decide to pre-increment 7, what this will return for us would be 8. Why? Because what the pre-increment does is that it increments it by 1 and then returns the variable. The post increment, on the other hand, returns the variable x first. It returns 8. The post increment returns the variable x first. The pre-increment returns increments x by 1 before returning the result. But post increment will return the result first before incrementing subsequent results. So here, if we want to increment it 3 times for pre-increment, the first will return 8, the second will return 9, the third will return 10. But for post increment, it returns the variable, the original value of variable x first, which is 7, before it starts incrementing it. So the first time it returns 7, second time returns 8, and then third time returns 9, and so on. What am I doing? And so on. The same thing applies to the pre-decrement and the post-decrement. For pre-decrement, it decrements it by 1 first and then returns the result. Sorry about that. So this will return, okay, still going with our variable x being 7. If we decrement it here, it will return, let me just do this. So this will return, decrement it by 1, it returns 6. Returns 6, and then keeps decrementing for subsequent operations. And the post decrement too returns the variable exactly as it is before it decides to decrement it for subsequent operations. So this one will return 7 first before it decides to start decrementing. Okay, let's talk about logical operators. For the logical operators, we have the AND operator, we have the OR operator, we have the XOR, we have the okay, let me just, for the AND operator, we have if AND operator checks if I'm trying to, okay, our time is well spent. Let me just rush through it. The logical operator checks, it checks if both, for the AND operator, it checks if both are true. If we are going to use if variable, if we're checking 2 conditions and we're using the AND operator, let's say we want to check that if the variable is greater than 10 and it's also an odd number. Yeah, let's use that. Let's say if the value, okay, there's a number between 1 and 20 that is greater than 10 and is also an odd number. It will only return true if the particular number you pick is both greater than 10, and also an odd number. If we use or, what it means is that if either of those conditions are true, let's say if that is if it's greater than 10, or if it happens that it's an odd number, just return it. So that's basically the two differences, the differences between the two and or operators. Like I said, we're going to drop a slide that will show the visual representation of what we've done. Our time is well spent, and I believe we've been able to cover a lot of, well, we didn't finish all the topics we expected. We plan to finish. Okay, yeah. What I have here is PHP data types. I think I'll do a video recording. Should I do that? We are going to touch data types. If I'm going to be dropping a video recording, I'll drop it in the learning management system so everyone can have access to it. But basically, we are going to have a slide that will show the visual representation and explanation with examples of everything we've touched here. That brings us to the end of this session. Thank you so much for attending. Shay?